I'm James Swanwick. This is the Alcohol-Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn to live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness.
Weight loss secrets is what I'll be talking about on this episode. More specifically, losing body fat or visceral fat. Sometimes it doesn't matter that you actually lose weight. Sometimes it matters more that you lose body fat that might be hanging over your belts. For women, it might be shoulder fat. For men, it might be a beer gut. Maybe you're in good shape, but you wish that you were leaner. Maybe you got a lot of muscles. Again, you wish you were leaner. Maybe if you're a woman and you've been finding it challenging over the years to drop unwanted fat, then this episode is for you. I started about, let's say, 3 months ago, 12 weeks ago, an experiment to see if I could get my body fat percentage down, to see if I could lose some weight. And I did a number of things. Well, actually, not a number of things. I did a few things which have had a profound impact on me dropping about, let's say, 6 or 7 pounds. Now, for you, that may not seem like a lot, depending on what your circumstances are. But I was always around 187, 188 pounds. I'm quite muscular, I'm tall, I'm 6'1.5", 185 centimeters. But, I've always had a little bit of visceral fat around my belly, and I wish I could just drop it. So in this episode, I'm just going to tell you what I did. I'm not saying that this will work for you, but it's at least worth an experiment, I would submit. Before I get into that, if you are listening to this episode before January of 2024, just to let you know, we have our annual event, Alcohol-Free Lifestyle Live, in Sedona, Arizona, January 24 to 28. Now, this is open to clients of ours, past clients of ours, and possible future clients of ours. If you would like to participate and you would like to join us for 4 days of walking through glorious rock formations in Sedona, Arizona, which is towards the west coast of the United States. You'd like to spend some time with me and our amazing alcohol-free lifestyle coaches. You'd like to learn how to be alcohol-free. You'd like to meet some of our clients who are now alcohol-free for at least a couple of years, many of them, and spend 4 days connecting with us and going hiking on some of the most beautiful scenery known to man, then there are early bird tickets available. You can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Sedona to see all of the details about our upcoming events. Now, we did this event in Medellin, Colombia in January of 2023. We did it in Austin, Texas in January 2022. And we did it before the pandemic hit in January of 2019 in Venice Beach, California. So this will actually be our 4th event. And it's always a wonderful time. People connect in person, especially during the pandemic, we were all stuck on Zoom calls and FaceTime and WhatsApp videos, weren't we? And we were stuck behind a screen. And to a degree inside of our program, Alcohol-Free Lifestyle, where we coach people how to stop drinking, have a better relationship with alcohol, almost all of our coaching is done virtually. So that way you don't have to drive to, say, like an AA meeting if you want to get help, or a meeting, or go to a rehab. You can actually do it from your phone or from your home. Having said all of that, as effective as our virtual and online coaching is, it is so wonderful to be able to spend time with people in person, isn't it? I mean, I hope this seems obvious to you. There's just a different type of energy that you get when you're in person. You can really connect, you can go deep, and especially as you're walking through beautiful Sedona, Arizona, which is the home of health and wellness really in the United States. There's vortexes there, beautiful energy. What a great opportunity to really focus on health and wellness, have a reset, take a break from the pressures of the modern world, spend some time with some wonderful people, and come and hang out, meet me. I'd love to walk with you for a few days through Sedona, Arizona. So if you are interested, there are tickets available. There is early bird pricing, so the sooner you secure your ticket, the more cost-effective the tickets are. And there's a list of hotels there that you could stay. off the main street there up in Sedona. The main airport is Phoenix or Flagstaff. So you check your flight connections there to see which one is closest to you, or which one it's easier to get to from wherever you are. And we've got people from New Zealand who are coming over for it. Someone from the UK is flying over for it, and then many folks from the US and Canada. So if you're interested, go and check out that link for all the details, secure your ticket as soon as you can, and hopefully I will see you there. Now, on to the weight loss topic. Now, before I get into it, let me just paint a scene of where I am right now. I'm actually in Medellin, Colombia. Right now, I'm recording this, and I'm trying to find the exit. I'm in a shopping mall called El Tesoro, and candidly, I'm a little lost. I'm trying to find my way out of here so I'm stuck in the car park trying to figure out how to walk out of this building. But what's this got to do with weight loss? Well, I'll tell you, I'm walking, and walking at least 10,000 steps a day, preferably 12,500, and ideally at least 15,000 steps a day, has been a huge contributing factor to me dropping some of the visceral fat around my belly. Now, I spent most of the summer in London, England, which is very flat. Did I say fat? Excuse me, flat. And I absolutely loved walking that city. If anyone's ever been in the UK in the summer, it is glorious. And so I was staying mostly in a place called Bloomsbury, which is very famous, where Virginia Woolf used to write her amazing books, and Oscar Wilde was based there. And Charles Dickens, I think, had a place there for a time. Central London, and it's very flat. So I used to walk around the corner from where I was staying into Russell Square, which is a nice little square there. And then a little bit further than that, I would end up in around the British Museum, which is a very famous museum there. And then I'd continue into Soho. I'd walk down through Soho towards Covent Garden, Piccadilly Circus, Trafalgar Square. I'd turn left. I'd walk towards the Thames. I'd walk over near Westminster Bridge, where Big Ben was, and the Houses of Parliament. And I would do a walk like that almost daily. And then other days I would walk towards Hyde Park, and I'd walk up through Oxford Street, and I'd go to Hyde Park. And UK in the summer, obviously the sun stays up very late there, and so you can go out for a walk at 8 o'clock and still be walking in sunlight at 9:30, quarter to 10 in the evening. And so I did that. Sometimes I did it with a friend or friends, other times I did it solo, and I just walked. And it was amazing how the pounds, and in this case probably I would say 3 or 4 pounds, which again for you might not seem like a lot, but for me it's quite a lot, given that I'm kind of I'm kind of lean anyway. So losing an additional 3 or 4 months when you're already kind of lean, it's not that easy. So but just walking there, I just dropped 3 or 4 pounds just like that. So walking, and I know this is so obvious, but walking does not increase your appetite that much. And walking is very pleasant. You can just stroll. It gives you an opportunity to see things, get out in nature, and the pounds should just fall off. Now, 10,000 steps is, like I said before, great. 12,500 steps is kind of where the fat burning starts to kick in. And then if you can get to 15,000 steps, you're absolutely, knocking off a lot of fat. Or not a lot, but let's just say a considerable amount of fat, because a lot is subjective, isn't it? I found my way out of this shopping mall, by the way, so now I'm just walking along next to the motorbikes and the cars that are all driving next to me. Excuse the background noise as I walk a little further here. So the first thing for dropping weight is just walking. Now, in addition to the walking, candidly, I go to the gym and I lift weights, and I like to do that. And I do that probably 4 or 5 times a week. And then on one day a week, I like to go for a jog, like a run. And then 1 day or 2 days a week, I just do absolutely nothing except walk, like no strenuous activity. And that was so manageable for me, really manageable. And so that, keeps the muscle going, because I'm lifting heavy weights in the gym. There are all these studies that show that the best way for you to increase the length of your life is to lift heavy stuff, men and women. A lot of women mistakenly believe that if they lift weights, they're going to put on muscle and they're going to lose their feminine look, which is actually not the case. When women lift heavy stuff and lift weights, it actually tones the muscles and really speeds up that fat burning process. So there's some noise here going on. Just let's paint a little bit more of a picture where I am here. It's 5:15 in the afternoon. I'm just trying to cross a busy street here. There's a lot of traffic. I probably shouldn't be trying to cross here, to be honest with you, but you know what? It's rush hour. I'm going to walk up to the pedestrian crossing and I'm going to be safe, do it properly. And I can see the beautiful mountains of Medellin, Colombia. I'm about to walk down a hill. The sun is setting. It's a wonderful, wonderful city. I've been coming here on and off since 2009. My Spanish is pretty good. Probably could be better, given I've been coming here for so many years, but it's good enough. Okay, now the other thing I did as it relates to, let me on the steps. How do you count the steps? Well, a couple of ways you can do this. Most iPhones or Android phones actually have an app on the phone which counts the steps anyway. So as you walk, it figures out the distance, it knows what you're doing, and it basically will tell you the steps. I'm not sure what those built-in apps are, but if you just Google the built-in step tracker in an iPhone or an Android, it will actually be there. What I do in addition to that is I wear an Oura ring, and an Oura ring is spelled O-U-R-A. It's like a silver ring that you wear on your finger, and I use it predominantly to track my sleep because I really put a very high priority on my sleep. And so when I wake up in the morning, I see how many hours of deep REM sleep I got, what was the duration of sleep. Was I in bed for 9 hours but only slept 7? Was I in bed for 7 hours? Did I sleep 5 or 6? And that really keeps me focused on good sleep hygiene, which, by the way, is also a massive contributing factor to weight loss. But importantly, what I do with my Oura ring is that it tracks my steps. So I walk outside, I'm wearing it all day, I go out, I do all these walks, and a couple times during the walks, I'll just have a look and see how many steps I've done for the day. And I'm always aiming for at least 10,000, preferably 12,500, and ideally at least 15,000. And sometimes I can just walk and I get up to 20,000, 22,000, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And again, it's not so, exerting. Is that a word? Exerting? It's not so exhaustive, maybe is probably a better word, that you're craving food and now you're going to eat more calories than what you ordinarily might. It's just a pleasant stroll, but it's just in the background, it's just burning calories, but not necessarily increasing your cravings for food or for alcohol, I should say. So that's a great way to track. And what I've found is that wearing the Oura ring or looking in your app on your phone just to track how many steps you're making is a great form of accountability. Because you can have the intention of like, I just got to walk more. But when you don't know exactly how many steps you're taking, it's hard to know whether you're doing 7,000 or 10,000 or 12,000 or 2,000. But because I have that app, because I'm tracking it, it's a form of accountability. And so every day it's like, okay, I get to get my 12,500 steps in. How many have I done so far? 7,000. Okay, it's already 6, 7 o'clock at night. All right, let's have dinner, and then I'll go for a 30-minute after dinner walk. And I just keep walking until I get my 12,500. And sometimes I will phone a friend and I'll just walk and talk. I'll put my earbuds in and I'll just walk through the evening talking to a friend. My parents, Ron and Jill Swanwick, are back in Brisbane, depending on what time of night it is. Where I am on the world, they're back in Brisbane, Australia. I might call them and have a catch up. And this is this beautiful evening stroll or morning stroll, knocking up the steps, getting the steps in. Now, calories. Let's talk about calories. And then I'm going to talk about some of the foods that I ate and the foods that I didn't eat. So a good friend of mine, Mike Carrells, he's a Canadian and he lives in Medellin, Colombia. He actually put me on to this idea of figuring out how many calories should be my daily limit in order for me to lose some visceral fat. And what he told me is that take your weight in pounds and multiply it by the number 13. And that number will give you the threshold of calories you should be eating in a day if weight loss is your goal. Now, I'll say that again. You step on a set of scales, you find out what your weight is in pounds, you multiply it by the number 13. Whatever that number is what your daily caloric intake should be if your goal is to lose some pounds. So for me, if I go to, let's just go into the calculator right now, and I was 187 pounds and I multiply it by 13, I get 2,431. So what I did was I set myself the goal of 2,250 calories per day. 2,250 calories per day. I knew if I didn't go over that, then I would almost certainly drop some visceral fat, which is what happened. Now, the next question you're probably asking is, well, how do I track how many calories I'm eating? Now, this can be a little tricky, somewhat challenging. Now, what I did was, and I must admit with some resistance, because my friend Mike and another friend of mine, Brendan, were telling me, oh, you got to download this app, MyFitnessPal. And I'm like, oh man, I don't want to have to download another damn app. I'm already spending too much time on the phone. Why do I have to do this? And but anyway, I took their advice and I downloaded the app, and I kind of was irritable about it for a couple of weeks, and I kind of ignored it. And I think I paid whatever the annual fee was for it. It may have been even as much as $50. I actually don't remember. It's probably a free version, but I think candidly it's probably a paid app. I would just invite you to check it out in the App Store anyway. And what this app does is that it gives you an opportunity to track the food you eat. But not only that, it gives you an opportunity to scan the barcode of the food you buy in a supermarket, and it will automatically input how many calories are in that food item. So I was in the UK, and I've been in Medellin, Colombia, by the way. It works all over the world. If you're looking to buy, say, a Greek yogurt, and you don't know how many calories there are, or you're lazy and you don't want to look on the back and really study it, you can actually just turn it around the back, put the phone on there, on the app, press scan barcode. It'll scan the barcode, and automatically it will input how much protein there is in that food item, how many carbs, how much fat. And then that will then automatically be logged in your food diary for the day. And as you go along and you continue to consume food throughout the day, it'll just keep, so long as you keep entering that food into the app, it will just keep a running total all the time. Most importantly, of calories. Now you might be thinking, well, what about if you're buying a piece of steak and you're eating an apple or an orange or a banana? You can't really scan that, and you're absolutely right. But what you can do is go into the app and just type in the word banana or steak, and it will bring up a whole lot of options for you. And for example, if you're in a restaurant and you order 350 gram ribeye steak, for example, even though there's no barcode there, you can just go into this app, MyFitnessPal, and you can type in ribeye steak, and it'll come up and it'll give you an option. Is it 250 grams or 300 grams or 350 or 400 grams? And you'll just click on the appropriate size of the steak. In this hypothetical or this example, that's 350 grams. You put that in, and up comes the MyFitnessPal. It'll tell you how many grams of protein are in there, how many carbs, how many calories. And then you can do this for if you order fries, or if you order a baked potato, or if you're having pasta or rice or whatever it is, packet of Doritos. And you can just literally scan a packet of Doritos or put a packet of Doritos in, and it'll come up and it'll tell you how many calories, how much fat, how much protein. Just a little tip, there's not too much protein in a packet of Doritos. M&Ms, Kit Kats, Gatorades, soda water, coffee with milk in it, a latte, all of that kind of stuff. You just put it into the app, and it will tell you how many calories are in there. So I did this. And as I increasingly did this 2 or 3 days after throwing the toys out of the pram a little bit, like, oh, I don't want to be on this app, this is annoying, this is intrusive in my life, I started to really enjoy learning about how many calories were in certain foods. And the most profound thing that I discovered, and this is like a drop the mic kind of moment, listen up. The thing that I've discovered, which has just been an absolute revelation for me, is that non-fat Greek yogurt is a high source of protein with very few calories. To the point where I was buying a 500 gram tub of non-fat Greek yogurt and getting like 30 grams of protein and still only consuming about 350 calories. I couldn't believe it. And so all this time, admittedly I have a sweet tooth, and sometimes it's been challenging for me not to eat a brownie or an ice cream or, get a little sugary treat. But I tell you, discovering non-fat Greek yogurt and realizing it has very few calories, but also very good healthy protein levels, was a revelation, because I could eat well throughout the day, be full, and then still at the end of the night go, oh, I want a sugary treat, or something that feels like maybe not a sugary treat, but a treat, like dessert. What we might think of dessert, and go, oh, I can smash a whole tub of non-fat Greek yogurt, as long as I've got 350 calories left to spare before I get over. I want to make sure I don't go over that 2250 daily caloric intake. I can still have this guilt-free Greek yogurt. And I don't know if you've ever had non-fat Greek yogurt, but it's delicious. At least I find it delicious. So that was the first revelation. The other big revelation I discovered was eating insane quantities of strawberries. Now, when I went into a Sainsbury's store, I'm sorry, not a Sainsbury's, a Waitrose store. There's a British chain of supermarket called Waitrose. And I would go in there and they would sell these huge containers of strawberries. And when I scanned the packaging of this huge container of strawberries, I realized that I could eat what seems like 500 grams of strawberries. Like, that's a big amount of strawberries, and still only be consuming like 100 or 150 calories, which is nothing. And I was really shocked actually to learn, because some people were saying, oh, there's so much sugar in strawberries. Actually, that's not true. When I typed 500 grams of strawberries into MyFitnessPal, it came up with being very little sugar and very few calories. And so what I might do at lunchtime, knowing this, is that I might go out and I would buy meat. Candidly, I like to eat meat. I eat steak and chicken and things like that. But for lunch, after I'd been to the gym each morning, I might go and eat half a rotisserie chicken, or I might go to a store and literally just order some meat, and that was it. Not even with any of the extras, and 500 grams of these strawberries. So I might have meat and strawberries for lunch and still only be really consuming not even maybe 500, 600 calories. And so even having that huge meal, like the strawberries made me feel very content, or is it satiated? Is that the word? I think I need a grammar lesson. Basically, when you eat 500 grams of strawberries, you don't feel hungry afterwards, but you've had very few calories, and you have that in conjunction with some meat or chicken or fish or whatever protein source. Maybe you only get through 500-600 calories, and if that's the only thing you've eaten so far that day, if your caloric daily cutoff is 2,250 calories, that means if you can just go through to dinner time, you can now have an absolute feast of a dinner and not go over the daily calorie goal of 2,250. So what I would do, just to put this into perspective, what my daily routine might be, is I would wake up, I would wait 2 hours, I would have black coffee. There was a Starbucks near where I was staying in London. I would go there and order a 2-shot grande. Usually they put 3 shots in a grande size, but I would say, just give me 2 shots in the grande size, so it's a little bit weaker. And I would have this coffee. Now, what coffee does is that it actually suppresses your appetite. So ordinarily, if I might want to eat breakfast, I might be hungry in the morning, by drinking coffee, it actually suppresses the appetite and I don't feel hungry. Now, just to be clear, it was black coffee. It wasn't a latte. It wasn't anything with milk in it. It wasn't a cappuccino. It was just straight black coffee. And the reason I did that was because I was trying to extend my fast. And I haven't mentioned this yet. This is another key to reducing fat, which is fasting. And I would always try to only eat in an 8-hour window and not eat in a 16-hour window. Again, my body then, there's a lot of science to suggest that if you compress your eating window, then the body can, again, burn more fat. So I would wake up in the morning, I'd wait 2 hours before having black coffee. Why was I waiting 2 hours? Because they've done studies that show that if you drink coffee too soon in the morning, it actually has the opposite effect of fat loss. It actually keeps your cortisol levels higher for longer. And if you have high cortisol levels and that's lingering in your system, an effect of cortisol lingering in your system is the body stores fat. It hangs on to fat. It's harder to burn that fat. They've also shown that if you have coffee too soon in the morning, while it might give you that initial boost, 3 or 4 hours later, a lot of people feel like they have a crash. And so the way that you avoid that is that you just try to push back your first coffee of the morning to about 90 minutes, 2 hours. Just to be safe, I pushed it back 2 hours. So I'd have this black coffee, and then at noon, I would go to the gym and work out, and then I would finish my workout at 1, and then at 1:30, I would walk and I would go and have my first meal of the day. I would break my fast. That was my break fast, my breakfast. So many days, my first meal of the day was 1:30 p.m., quarter to 2 in the afternoon. And then I would have a meat source, like a chicken or some steak. I'd walk to the Waitrose, I'd get a whole bunch of strawberries, I'd eat those. And then I would start walking. I'd just walk throughout the day. Now you might be thinking, well, where the hell does he work? Well, the funny thing is that I was working all the time because I make sure that I take a lot of my meetings on Zoom while I'm walking. In fact, my internal team at Alcohol Free Lifestyle will all know this, that most of the time James is taking meetings as he's walking. Even if I'm taking meetings not inside my team with other people, I'm usually walking. The only time I'm not walking and taking a meeting is if I'm being interviewed on a podcast, where obviously I need to be present and quiet and in a controlled environment with good microphone. But for the rest of the time, I'm just out and about. Now, you may have heard that the noise is cut down a little bit. I've now walked into a supermarket, and I am going to get myself a little Greek yogurt here as a end of meal dessert. I'm looking at a brand called Skitos. Now, bear in mind I'm in Medellin, Colombia, so this probably isn't available where you might be listening to this now, but there's a brand here called Skitos, S-K-E-T-O-S. It says 0% grasa, which means 0% fat, 14 gramos proteína. All right, I'm now back in a quiet, controlled environment. My recorder actually cut out there just as I was about to purchase some non-fat Greek yogurt, which I did, and I ate it, and it was delicious, and not many calories, and then I continued my walk. So just to round this out, if you can control your calories, or be at least cognizant of your calories, if you can delay your first meal of the day, suppress your appetite with black coffee, exercise, walk, delay your first meal of the day, track the food that you are consuming, put it in your MyFitnessPal, and cut down on sugary drinks, things like that. You can stay underneath that calorie goal for the day and lose weight. Now, some of the foods that can creep up in terms of high calories, which they sneak up very quickly. Those calories really do sneak up, and that's putting things like milk or sugar or cream in your coffee. Rice and pasta send the carbohydrates up and the calories up. I should note as well, it's important that you're getting a good amount of protein. My friend Mike, who was advising me on the caloric intake during the day, was saying that I personally should be aiming for about 150, 160 grams of protein a day. So I always have to find the sweet spot of how I can consume enough protein and enough, but not go over that 2250 calories for the day. And luckily, the non-fat Greek yogurt has lots of protein in it. Eggs have a good source of protein. Meat, whether it's chicken, fish, steak, has a good source of protein in it. Snacks, I like, what are they called? Beef sticks, beef jerky. In fact, a good little hack is that if you're driving, on the highway or in a car and you're hungry and you go into one of those gas stations, you've got an option of eating Cheetos or Doritos or Kit Kats or whatever look for beef sticks or beef jerky. Now, they are very high in sodium, so you want to watch out for that. But it's great protein. It's pretty low in calories. It's just beef, essentially. And that can get your protein up without putting a lot of calories in there. Likewise, you can, like I said, the snacks like strawberries, a couple of bananas are very low in calories. And you'll start to learn this as well, especially as you put it in the MyFitnessPal app. You'll start to put in like how many calories are in a banana, how many is in a mandarin, how many is in an orange or an apple, etc. And you can start to see that. Then it becomes actually quite fun because you're learning all the time, and now you're focusing on walking, getting your 10,000 steps at least in. You're starting to really concentrate and focus on what you are digesting. And the cumulative effect of all of this, in many cases, is weight loss. And that's, what most people, I would submit, in the world are kind of looking for. But even if weight loss is not your goal, just feeling good. I mean, I feel good, even better doing this and experimenting with this with the last 3 months than I did beforehand. And just walking, it's so good. All the studies show you get out in nature, you walk, reduces stress, reduces anxiety, increases overall feeling of wellness and positivity, healthy mindset. Tony Robbins, the personal development coach, he always uses this term chunking, which means you put a couple of different similar things together to save time or to be time effective. Again, that's why I like to take meetings out and about when I'm walking. I take my phone. I have a pair of readers from my sleep company, Swanwick Sleep. I have the daytime clear lens prescription glasses. I put them on and kind of just let them hang down over my nose. So when I'm looking in the screen, everything is nice and in focus, but I can still look up above the glasses to make sure I'm not, falling over or getting hit by traffic. I can see where I'm going. And I just walk, and if there's lots of background noise, I'll put myself on mute while the other person or other people are talking. And I'll just, very casually hold my right arm up, sort of with the elbow into my side, and hold the phone and just be walking like that, getting steps and having meetings and doing work at the same time. It's called chunking. It's funny, actually, because yesterday I was in an office. I went to the office to do a podcast episode, and because I was there and I did the recording, I just stayed in the office for about 3 hours afterwards. And I realized when I got up, my back was sore, and I'd been sitting for 4 hours. And I rarely do that, rarely. In fact, I take great pride in either hardly sitting throughout the day or rarely sitting. There's a great book called Get Up by James Levine, in which he talks about how just sitting down can absolutely cripple us as a human being. And in fact, something interesting to note as well, in that book, he says that you can halve, cut 50% of the blood glucose levels by simply going for a 15-minute walk immediately after a meal. So when I eat a meal, I like to get up, as the book suggests, and go for a walk almost immediately. And I know that doing that is going to help my body to break down the food, help the digestion, and lower that blood glucose levels. It also helps prevent me from desiring a sugary treat. Sometimes you eat, you're sitting down, you're like, I'd like a dessert right now. Like a sugary dessert, like an ice cream or a cheesecake or a chocolate cake. But if you can just get up like within 5 minutes of your last bite and just start walking, that need or that taste, that desire for the dessert drops. And here's the beautiful thing. If you're underneath your calorie deadline or calorie limit for the day, just go out and seek a supermarket and get that non-fat Greek yogurt like I suggested, because that gives you that sweet taste, very low in calories, and now you're walking. Another important thing is to avoid eating or drinking in the last 3 hours before you go to sleep at night. A lot of studies suggest that if you eat too close to bedtime, your body is now going to work, your body's trying to digest the food, and at a time when you're supposed to be sleeping, the body is now working. Think of it this way. Remember back in the day that we had these big factories where people would clock in at the start of their day and they would clock out at the end of the day, and you would literally go in and put a timestamp and click and say, yep, I'm walking in at 8:59, and then at 5 or 5:30 you'd clock it again, and yep, there's the proof that you left at 5:30. When you eat or drink close to sleep, you are clocking in for a night's work, but you don't want to clock in for a night's work. You're looking to clock out for the day. But the moment that you eat food within 3 hours or you consume alcohol, especially, you're clocking in for a night's work. The liver now has to go to work to break down the alcohol. The digestive system now has to go to work to break down the food that you've eaten. And that results in not spending as much time or as quality time in sleep. And you can track this with an Oura ring as well. And, I would even suggest to you what you could do is you could wear an Oura ring for a week and just carry on the way that you've been carrying on, whatever that is. It could be eating within 3 hours of sleep, drinking a glass of alcohol, not walking, not exercising, not trying to check your calories. And just track it for a week the way that you've been tracking it. Don't go for your walks, etc. And then for a 7-day test, you could then go, right, okay, now I'm going to test not drinking alcohol for a week, not eating within 3 hours of bedtime. I'm going to try going for a walk, trying to get 10,000 steps in, try and get my calories down, and then track your Oura ring and see how your sleep improves. Now, I say how because to me it's like it's a gimme that your sleep is going to improve. I would be shocked if it didn't, in fact. Many of our clients who go through our 90-day flagship program, Project 90, when they stop drinking, they are often shocked to see just how much their health metrics improve as a result of just eliminating alcohol. We've had people whose blood pressure has dropped 20 points. Their resting heart rate has dropped 20 points. Their cholesterol and triglycerides go down. The weight drops off them. They start to have a smile on the face. I mean, they look different. It's amazing seeing people come in on day 1, 2, or 3 of Project 90. They're on our coaching course. So we have these Zoom calls where all of our clients come together and we talk to one another. And you see them in the first 3 days, and often they kind of, they look how they look, which can be, not always, but it can be a bit of a puffy face, some little bit of bags under the eye, or a few bags under the eyes maybe, not really smiling, just kind of a bit timid and a bit unsure, which is perfectly reasonable and normal because you've been drinking for so many years and now you're thrown into this, group client coaching experience where it's all very new and you're unsure and you really want to make sure that you don't drink this time, and you're trying to take in the learning and the coaching and meet people and participate and understand the culture of our coaching calls. And then you should see them like something shifts. Sometimes it can shift as early as 2 weeks. Sometimes it can shift at day 50 or day 70. But you start to see people literally change before your eyes. You start to see the puffiness go. The eyes start to sparkle. The skin starts to glow. They show up on calls and they're giggling and they're smiling. They just look different. You experience them differently. And, if you took a screenshot of them on day 1, 2, or 3 and then compared it to the screenshot of them on day 87, 88, 89, 90 as they're just about to graduate our 90-day coaching program, they would just, in most cases, they look vastly different. They just look like different human beings. And you know what? They are different human beings because the poison and the toxins have gone and left their body. And what is left is the way that nature intended them to look and feel and be, which is just a pleasant way of life, a pleasant experience. But don't take my word for it. There are so many inspiring stories here on this very podcast. You just need to go back or forward, depending on when you're listening to this episode, and just look for some of these inspiring stories where we interview them, usually around day 90, like between day 90 and day 100. They share their stories. Sometimes we bring people who are 2 years alcohol-free back and they talk about the profound change that they've had in their life. you might like to read a story by one of our past clients whose name is Evan Melcher. If you go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Evan, you'll read a LinkedIn story that he posted celebrating his 1 year alcohol free, and he outlines the journey from when he was, irritable, a little bit overweight, a bit distracted, to today. He's vibrant, he's healthy, he looks terrific. In fact, I just had dinner with him in a London restaurant just a few weeks ago, and he just looked so happy and so energetic. He came over with some friends and he went to a Tottenham Hotspur Premier League soccer game and went and watched the Atlanta Falcons play over at, I think it was at Wembley, one of the few NFL games they have over in London each season. And he was just full of life and vibrant. So yeah, you could read his little story on LinkedIn that he posted, I think about 18 months ago now. Just go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Evan. And there are other amazing stories there where you can see people's transformation. Another weight loss story is Roseanne, who was with us a couple of years ago as a client. In fact, let me just pull up the link here. You can just see the difference. We put a before and after photo on her, on this little video. It's a little 2-minute video which outlines her story. Let me see if I can find the link here, and I'll just give it to you. And so you can, in your own time, go and have a look at her transformation. Just give me 1 second. Where is it? I'm looking. Here we go. It is alcoholfreelifestyle.com/testimonials_Roseanne. A little bit of a mouthful. And Roseanne is ROSEANN. There's no E on the end of Ann. That's alcoholfreelifestyle.com/testimonials_Roseanne. Her resting heart rate and her blood pressure dropped noticeably after 90 days. Her weight, I think she said she lost 21 pounds, I think, in 90 days. That was just from not drinking alcohol and obviously doing some walking. I don't think at the time she was really tracking 10,000 steps or looking at her calories, but just by getting rid of alcohol and focusing on healthier habits, she dropped 21 points. Resting heart rate, blood pressure dropped by 20 points, and she's just so smiling. She's gone on to write a book since she graduated from our program and is just flying. Who else we got? Let's see if I can find someone else with some amazing John Keltner in California. If you go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/testimonials_John, John had to get slightly smaller glasses because he lost all that puffiness in his face. So if you're someone who, maybe you've struggled with weight before and you're looking to lean down, go and have a look at John's amazing story, alcoholfreelifestyle.com/testimonials_John, and you can see just how much weight he lost. And he is just flying, loving life. He must be 3.5 years alcohol-free now. He came through our program, I think, end of 2018, maybe the beginning of 2019. And so what's that? That's coming up he'd be 4 years alcohol-free now, coming up. Maybe 5 years, actually. But again, great opportunity for you to see the weight loss that he experienced. Yeah. I could just keep talking on this, but I won't. What else can I say? Drinking lots of water as well. Another thing that gets your calories up is drinking things like Gatorade. That's not good. Sugary substances. When I'm thirsty, I'll either drink either water or I'll drink Perrier or Pellegrino. You can get it at any supermarket. Most 7-Elevens have it. Sparkling water is absolutely fine. In fact, really good for you. In fact, drinking sparkling water, when I say sparkling water, I mean soda water. I don't mean soda like the Americans call soda. They might be called pop, right? Like sugary drinks. Do not drink that. That's my recommendation. But if you drink Pellegrino, soda water, Pellegrino, am I getting it right? Perrier, Pellegrino, yeah. Especially if you drink that on a flight, it's shown that the oxygen levels, there's something at 30,000 feet that drinking that is really, really good for you, keeps you hydrated and keeps you clear on a flight at 30,000 feet. I'll have to dig into that a little bit more, actually. I think Dave Asprey, the Bulletproof guy, was the one who did a video on that at some point. I'm not exactly sure what it does, but there's some effect that drinking soda water in a plane is really, really good for you. What else? snacking, snacking in some strawberries, bananas, some beef sticks, beef jerky, eggs, hard-boiled eggs. These are very low in calories, but high in protein, good for you. Chicken and bone broth is really good for you. Good collagen is really good for your joints in there if you've got sore joints. And also that would keep the caloric intake down as well. So just looking for bone broth in a store, chicken broth, that can be really, really good for you. Low calories. And what else? I mean, I lift weights and I take creatine. The only really supplement that I take in addition to, well, actually the only supplement I really take is creatine powder. I mean, I've taken lots of things over the years, vitamin D, because I get lots of sunlight and I go out and I get sun, I don't feel like I need to take a vitamin D supplement. If I lived in a cold climate where the days were very short, then of course I would probably supplement with vitamin D. I take vitamin C a lot on occasion. What I mean is when I take vitamin C as a supplement, I take a lot of it. But for the most part, I feel like I'm getting my vitamin C from some fruits and from some vegetables. What I don't eat or what I avoid eating is things like pasta and rice and bread. I mean, pasta, rice, and bread, damn. I mean, look, a little bit of rice, white rice, is actually okay, like a handful of rice. That can be okay, but it does get the calories up there and it's not necessary. Like, it's actually not necessary for your life. Pasta, I don't know why anyone chooses to eat pasta. I know this is a big Italian thing and they love pasta and it's glorious. But, especially in the US, if you have a gluten sensitivity, that can be really nasty for you. You can get gluten that's not made out of wheat, but it's made out of a vegetable. What is it? Is it cucumber? No, it can't be cucumber. It's got to be something else. I can't remember. But there's some pasta made out of one of the vegetables. That is good. And if you are okay with the texture of that and it mimics, wheat pasta and you can reconcile yourself with that, that would be a good alternative to any kind of like wheat gluten-filled pasta that you get, especially in the US. And bread, oh man, I just avoid bread as much as possible because it just piles on the pounds. It's got really no nutritional benefit to it. And yet, we as a society, we glorify it, we eat it. And, all these European countries like the French will say, big French baguette. Now, candidly, the bread over in Europe is actually a lot better for you than the bread in the US. In fact, a friend of mine, Billy Bosch, did a video that got about 10 million views recently. Let me see if I can find it and you can go and watch it. Let me just type it into my... And he talked about how he ate lots of bread and pasta in Europe and didn't put on weight and didn't have stomach issues, digestive issues. But then as soon as he came back to the States and he started eating bread and pasta, all of the same problems returned. Here it is, his video, his Instagram is Iconic Life. Iconic Life. His name's Billy Bosch. He actually was featured on an episode with me here on the podcast when we were in a London restaurant recently. You can find that episode by just scrolling back a couple of weeks or so. You can see James and friend dine in a London restaurant, I think is the name of the show title. And you can listen to us speak. He's from New Orleans, great friend of mine. We're in a business mastermind together. And he did an Instagram video, let's have a look here, which was, why is gluten in Italy so much... Why is gluten in Europe okay, but gluten in America is awful? And in this video had, how many views has it had? Let's have a look. 7.7 million views. There we go. 7.7 million views. So you might want to go and check him out on his Instagram page and just watch that video. And it might open your eyes regarding eating pasta and bread in the US. So if you're in Europe, good times. Go and have some bread and pasta, but just watch the caloric intake of it. But it probably won't cause as many problems or any problems. But pasta and bread in the US nasty because of the pesticides that they're spraying all over the food. That's really the main reason why. But Billy goes into more details, and you can go and check out that video. Like I said, I could speak for hours on this. I've already been speaking a while, so why don't I just wrap this up? I hope this was helpful. If you've got any questions or you'd like to comment on this episode, go over to my Instagram page at James Swanwick and just send me a DM and say, hey, I listened to your weight loss podcast episode. And you can say whatever you want to say. Just say, hey, I listened to it, I liked it, or you could disagree, or you might have something else to suggest, or you might have a clarifying question about anything that I have reported here. I'd love to, correspond with you. Feel free to do that. I think that's it. Anything else? No, don't think so. Other than to say, alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Sedona is where you can see details about our annual trip, January 24 to 28. If you are a business owner, an executive, and you feel like you need to stop drinking and it's urgent, and you really want professional help and you want to consider joining our community, you're over the age of 40, then you might want to apply to be part of our Project 90 experience. You can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Project 90. If that's not for you, but you'd like to take a 30 break with a little bit of help, we do have a 30-day no alcohol challenge, which is over at 30daynoalcoholchallenge.com. That will give you 30 pre-recorded training videos. There's a Facebook group there. It's certainly not as engaged as our Project 90 experience, because Project 90, we have Yale and Harvard educated coaches who come in and coach us, and we have live calls, and there's lots of other support there to help you through that. That's more of like a premium first class, experience, mostly for business owners, executives over the age of 40. But if you want to just dip your toe in the water and try to get 30 days without alcohol and do it in, maybe with some friends that you meet in Facebook, and I will send you a pre-recorded training video every day, 30daynoalcoholchallenge.com. Likewise, if you want to get my free guide, which is the Alcohol Freedom Formula, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. And I think that's it. All right. Thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful. Send me a message on Instagram if you've got any other questions, and I will catch you on the next one. See you.